You did not find this message by accident. You felt pulled here because something has shifted inside you. You have been fighting battles your bloodline never won. You have watched cycles of lack repeat. You have seen money come and go like a restless spirit, and for years, it triggered something in you. Fear, tightness, survival. But now it feels different. You are not reacting the same way. Chosen one, listen carefully. You are not ordinary. You were never meant to inherit struggle. You were meant to break it. This is not about money alone. This is about dominion. This is about authority. This is about whether lack still has permission to control your nervous system. There are 9 signs you are now immune to generational poverty and lack. Not coping, not surviving, immune. And if this resonates, you already know you are set apart. Subscribe. Stand with this message, because not everyone will understand it. Only the chosen recognize when the cycle is breaking. First, you no longer panic when money leaves your hands. There was a time when every expense felt like a threat. Every bill felt like warfare. Every unexpected cost felt like an attack. You felt your chest tighten, your thoughts spiral, your body react before your faith could speak. That was inherited survival. That was generational memory. That was your nervous system trained by scarcity. But now something has shifted. When money leaves, you do not collapse. You calculate, you adjust, you strategize, feel the difference. Before lack triggered fear, now movement triggers wisdom. You do not see loss as doom. You see it as data. You understand something deeper. Provision does not come from circumstances. It flows through you, through your ideas, through your obedience, through your courage. Money is no longer your master. It is a tool. And temporary loss, it no longer shakes your identity. Because your identity is no longer tied to your balance. You have detached worth from wealth. That is spiritual maturity. That is psychological healing. That is warfare won in silence. You used to think the anxiety meant you were responsible, but it was trauma, passed down, modeled, normalized. You were taught to fear the absence. Now you trust the source, and that trust changes your chemistry. Scarcity used to grip your nervous system. Now it does not own you. You feel it try. You see the old pattern attempt to whisper, what if it doesn't come back? What if this is the beginning of loss? But you do not bow. You breathe. You think. You move. Calm. Strategic. Grounded. That calm is not denial. It is authority. Darkness loses power when you stop reacting to it, and generational poverty loses access when panic no longer lives in your body. Do you understand what that means? It means the cycle is cracking. It means the enemy cannot control you through fear anymore. It means your children will inherit stability instead of survival mode. You are not careless. You are not reckless. You are anchored. That is immunity forming, and this is only the beginning. Second, you no longer see poverty as a curse. You see it as a pattern. That shift alone changes everything. There was a time when you thought struggle was written into your fate, that your last name carried limitation, that your background defined your ceiling. You felt marked, but not in a holy way. Marked by lack, marked by survival, marked by this is just how it is. But something awakened in you. You started noticing repetition, the same financial chaos, the same rushed decisions, the same fear-based thinking, the same silent agreements passed down at dinner tables and whispered in arguments. Money is hard. We can't afford that. People like us don't reach that level. You heard it. You absorbed it. You lived it until you didn't. Now you see it clearly. Poverty was not a prophecy, it was programming, and you broke the trance. That awareness did not come easily. It came through isolation, through feeling different in your own family, through asking questions that made others uncomfortable. Why do we fear investing? Why do we sabotage growth? Why do we expect loss? You started tracing the roots, beliefs, habits, unspoken vows, silent loyalty to struggle, and when you saw it, shame started dissolving. Listen carefully. Shame kept the cycle alive. Shame told you it was your fault. Shame told you you were bad with money. Shame told you you were irresponsible. But awareness exposed the lie. You were not cursed, You were conditioned. There is a difference, and only the chosen recognize it. The world accepts patterns as destiny. The chosen interrogate patterns. The world says it runs in the family. You say it ends with me. That is warfare, not loud warfare, strategic warfare. Because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. You recognize survival thinking in conversations. You hear fear disguised as wisdom. You see limitation masquerading as humility. And you do not judge, but you do not absorb it either. That is growth. That is immunity forming at a deeper level. You no longer internalize hardship as fate. You see it as a system of beliefs that can be dismantled. And this is where it becomes dangerous for darkness. Because once you stop believing you are cursed, the enemy loses narrative control. He cannot trap you in identity if you refuse the label. You are not the broke one. You are not the unlucky one. You are the pattern breaker, the cycle disruptor, the one who saw through the illusion. Do you realize how rare that is? Most people drown in the pattern. You studied it. Most people repeat it. You questioned it. That questioning was not rebellion. It was anointing. Isolation was not rejection. It was preparation. You had to step outside the mindset to see it. And now you do. Clear, sharp, unapologetic. Awareness has replaced shame. Clarity has replaced guilt. Authority has replaced helplessness. This is not just financial maturity. This is spiritual awakening. Because once you identify the pattern, you can rewrite it. And rewriting generational scripts is not for the ordinary. It is for the chosen. Third, you feel discomfort in small thinking. It irritates you. It drains you. It unsettles something deep in your spirit. There was a time when you tried to fit inside it. You tried to nod along. You tried to agree when people said, "Be realistic." You tried to silence the expansion rising in your chest. But you could not, because ceilings suffocate you now. Conversations rooted in limitation exhaust you. When someone says that's impossible, something in you stiffens. When someone says that's too big, your spirit quietly rebels. You do not argue loudly, but internally you know. You know there is more. You know there has always been more. That knowing is not arrogance. It is alignment. The world calls it unrealistic. Heaven calls it vision. You instinctively expand ideas instead of shrinking them. When others reduce dreams to fit fear, you enlarge possibilities to fit faith. Do you see the difference? Small thinking is survival language. Expansion is kingdom language. And you are fluent in expansion now. That shift did not come easily. It came through frustration, through feeling misunderstood, through sitting in rooms where your hunger for growth made others uncomfortable. You were told to calm down, to settle, to be content with less. But contentment and confinement are not the same thing. You learned that the hard way. You felt isolated, like the only one who refused to accept this is all there is. That isolation was not punishment. It was confirmation. Because only the chosen feel restless inside limitation. Only the chosen feel physical discomfort when destiny is reduced to survival. You cannot emotionally participate in narratives of inevitability anymore. When someone says people like us never get ahead, your spirit rejects it. When someone says it's just the economy, you hear deeper. You hear agreement with lack, and you refuse to agree. That refusal is spiritual warfare. Small thinking is a ceiling built by fear, and your spirit resists ceilings. Not gently, violently. You feel it in your body. A resistance, a quiet defiance. Because something inside you knows you were not designed for minimal living. You were designed for impact. You were designed for overflow. You were designed to break environments that normalize limitation. That is why you feel tension. Light always irritates darkness. Expansion always threatens confinement. And you carry expansion. This is why you outgrow rooms, why you outgrow conversations, why you outgrow mentalities that once felt normal. You are not being difficult. You are being upgraded. The enemy wants you comfortable in smallness, because small thinking sustains generational poverty. But you are allergic to smallness now. You feel it immediately. You resist it instinctively, and that resistance is proof. Proof that your internal blueprint has shifted. Proof that lack no longer defines your imagination. Proof that your destiny has expanded beyond inherited ceilings. This is not ambition alone, it is anointing. You do not just want more money, you want more capacity, more influence, more reach, more impact. That hunger is holy, and it is dangerous to darkness. Because when your mind expands, your life follows. And once expansion begins internally, no external ceiling can hold you. Fourth, you have detached your identity from your bank balance. This is deeper than discipline. This is deliverance. There was a time when numbers defined your mood, when deposits lifted you, when withdrawals crushed you, when the screen on your phone could determine your peace. Be honest. You felt powerful when it was high. You felt small when it was low. That was bondage, subtle bondage, culturally celebrated bondage. The world told you your value was measurable, that your worth could be calculated, that your importance was visible in digits. But something broke inside you, not your ambition, your attachment. You began to understand that wealth begins in authority, not numbers. Authority over your mind, authority over your reactions, authority over your decisions. Because money without authority disappears. But authority attracts provision. You felt the shift. You stopped checking your balance for validation. You stopped letting comparison poison your confidence. When someone else succeeded, it no longer threatened you. When someone flaunted abundance, you did not shrink. Why? Because your identity is no longer up for negotiation. Comparison has weakened its grip. It tries, it whispers. Look where they are. Look what they have. But you answer differently now. You say, my path is assigned. You say, my favor is custom. You say, my timing is divine. That is maturity. But more than that, it is warfare won internally. The enemy loves to attack identity through finances. He whispers lack to make you feel lesser. He whispers delay to make you feel forgotten. He whispers struggle to make you feel unchosen. But you no longer equate struggle with insignificance. You no longer equate temporary numbers with permanent worth. You learned the hard way. You felt overlooked. You felt behind. You watched others rise faster, and it burned. But that burn purified you. It forced you to confront the question, who are you without applause? Who are you without visible proof? Who are you when the numbers do not reflect the calling? And you answered, you are chosen anyway. You are anointed anyway. You are assigned anyway. Your confidence now feels anchored beyond material evidence. It is quieter, stronger, unshakable. It does not scream. It stands. Even when accounts fluctuate, even when doors delay, even when the world measures success in ways you no longer respect. You have separated identity from income. That is dangerous because when identity cannot be attacked through money, fear loses leverage. Darkness cannot control what it cannot define. And you are no longer defined by digits. You are defined by destiny. This is the layer most never reach. They chase wealth to feel worthy. You pursue purpose because you already know you are. That reversal shifts everything. Because once your identity is anchored, increase becomes addition, not validation. And that is when true overflow begins. Fifth, you have stopped blaming systems, and you have started building strategy. This is where power awakens. There was a season when you saw injustice and felt anger. You saw corruption. You saw inequality. You saw doors closed unfairly, and you were not wrong. The systems are flawed. The structures are imperfect. Darkness does operate in high places. But here is the shift. You no longer live inside outrage. You no longer build your identity around victimhood. You see injustice clearly, but you refuse to kneel to it. That is evolution. The world complains. The chosen calculate. The world protests without preparation. The chosen prepare without permission. Do you feel the difference? You stopped waiting for rescue. You stopped expecting someone to fix what you were assigned to navigate. That realization was uncomfortable because blaming feels easier. Blaming gives temporary relief. It gives you someone to point at. But ownership forces growth. Ownership forces discipline. Ownership forces strategy. And you chose ownership. That is dangerous to darkness because once you take responsibility, the enemy loses excuses to hide behind. You began asking different questions. Not why is this happening to me, but how do I move through this strategically? Not who blocked me, but where is the leverage? That shift is not small, it is seismic. You focus on leverage instead of complaint. You study patterns instead of rehearsing frustration. You build skills instead of building resentment. You understand something now. Systems can slow you, but they cannot stop you. Not when favor is on your life, not when strategy is in your hands. Responsibility used to feel heavy. Now it feels empowering, because responsibility means authority, and authority means movement. You are no longer emotionally dependent on fairness. You are strategically committed to advancement. That is maturity, that is dominion, and that is why generational poverty cannot survive in you. Because poverty thrives where blame thrives. Poverty feeds on powerlessness. But you no longer feel powerless. You feel assigned. You feel equipped. You feel aware. You know there are barriers, but you also know you carry intelligence, creativity, resilience, divine timing, and that combination is lethal to stagnation. You are not naive. You are not pretending injustice does not exist. You simply refuse to let injustice define your ceiling. That is warrior thinking. That is builder thinking. That is chosen thinking. The world waits for permission. You move with intention. The world demands guarantees. You move with strategy. You stopped saying it's impossible. You started saying, what is the move? That question alone separates survivors from leaders. And you are not here to survive. You are here to shift bloodlines. You are here to create stability where chaos once ruled. You are here to build structures your ancestors never saw. This is where the power becomes visible. You are no longer reacting to systems, you are navigating them. And when you navigate instead of complain, doors begin to appear. Not because the system changed, but because you did. Sixth, you have developed an internal standard higher than your environment. Pause there, because this is where bloodlines begin to tremble. You were raised around certain habits, certain reactions, certain financial rhythms, spending first, saving later, reacting emotionally, deciding impulsively. That was normal. That was modeled. That was familiar. But it is no longer you. You feel it. You move differently now. You think differently now. You do not mirror the chaos you came from. You resist it, not with arrogance, with awareness. Your discipline no longer reflects your upbringing. It reflects your destiny. That is a shift most never make. Most people repeat what they saw. You examined what you saw, you evaluated it, and you refused to inherit it blindly. That refusal was not rebellion, it was revelation. You began noticing patterns in your family, impulse purchases, emotional decisions, money spent to soothe pain. Money used to prove worth, and you said it stops here. That decision cost you something. It cost you comfort. It cost you approval. It cost you belonging in certain conversations. Because when you raise your standard, you disrupt familiarity. But you did it anyway. You rejected chaotic spending. You rejected financial decisions rooted in emotion. You stopped using money as therapy. You stopped using lack as identity. You began operating from foresight, planning, structure, intentionality. That is not just maturity, that is spiritual separation. Because chaos is contagious, and you chose not to catch it. You feel the difference in your body. When an impulsive urge rises, you pause. When emotion tempts you to react, you breathe. That pause is power. That breath is authority. You are no longer governed by impulse. You are governed by vision. Your habits now reflect future abundance, not past instability. That means you prepare before you see. You build before applause. You save before overflow. You invest before confirmation. That is faith in motion. And darkness hates disciplined faith. Because disciplined faith compounds. It grows quietly. It strengthens silently. It becomes unshakable over time. You move differently than your lineage did. You track what they ignored. You learn what they avoided. You study what they dismissed. That is not dishonor. That is elevation. You are not condemning your bloodline. You are completing it. You are the upgrade, the refinement, the correction. And here is the deeper truth. When your internal standard rises, external circumstances eventually follow. Because you stop tolerating what once felt normal. You stop accepting instability as routine. You stop calling dysfunction just life. You feel called higher, so you live higher, even when no one else understands, even when it feels lonely, even when it feels like you are the only one thinking long-term. That loneliness is confirmation, because only the chosen feel discomfort staying where they started. You are not drifting anymore. You are building. And when you build with intention, generational poverty loses oxygen. It cannot survive in disciplined environments. It cannot survive where standards are high. It cannot survive where vision leads. You are not just reacting to life now, you are structuring it, and structure creates stability. 7th, you attract opportunity instead of chasing approval. This is where the shift becomes visible. There was a time when you ran after validation, when you overextended yourself to be accepted, when you said yes out of fear, when you proved your value by exhausting yourself. You felt you had to earn visibility, earn support, earn access. But that season exposed something. It showed you how desperation drains favor. Because when you chase approval, you shrink. When you beg for recognition, you lower your authority. And you are not called to beg. You are called to build. Now doors open differently, not because you force them, but because you align with them. Feel the difference. Desperation chases, alignment attracts. You stop moving from anxiety. You stop saying yes to prove your worth. You stop performing for acceptance. And when you stop performing, your presence grew stronger. People sense it now. They feel stability in you. They feel groundedness in you. They feel certainty in you. And certainty attracts trust. Trust attracts opportunity. This is not luck. This is alignment. You no longer overextend to impress. You no longer compete to be noticed. You no longer shapeshift to fit rooms that were never assigned to you. You walk in as yourself, unapologetic, measured, calm. That calm is powerful because the world runs on insecurity. The world hustles for attention. The world scrambles for validation. But you operate from identity, and identity carries weight. Have you noticed it? Opportunities come through conversation now. Introductions happen naturally. Access appears without manipulation. Why? Because you stopped trying to be chosen. You realized you already are. That realization changed your posture. You no longer approach rooms as an outsider. You enter knowing you belong, and belonging shifts energy. Darkness cannot intimidate what is internally affirmed. When you chased approval, you felt small. Now you attract collaboration. Competition fades because you are not threatened. You do not see others as obstacles. You see alignment. You see synergy. You see shared elevation. That is abundance thinking. And abundance thinking cannot coexist with generational lack. You are no longer striving for scraps. You are positioning for legacy. The enemy used to tempt you with visibility. Now you seek impact. The enemy used to distract you with applause. Now you pursue assignment. That shift makes you dangerous. Because when you stop chasing approval, you stop being controllable. Approval is leverage, and you surrender that leverage back to no one. You move with discernment. You wait when necessary. You act when aligned. You trust timing, and timing trusts you. Opportunities no longer feel random. They feel orchestrated, strategic, intentional, because you are not forcing doors. You are walking through the ones designed for you. This is favor in motion, and favor does not chase, it attracts. 8th, you feel called to break cycles, not escape them alone. This is where survival ends and legacy begins. There was a time when your only prayer was relief. Get me out, get me stable, get me safe. And that was valid. You were fighting, you were surviving, you were carrying weight your ancestors never processed. But now something deeper burns inside you. It is no longer just about you making it. It is about rewriting what making it means. You do not dream small anymore. You do not dream temporary anymore. You think in decades, in generations, in bloodlines. That is not normal thinking. That is covenant thinking. The world builds for self. the chosen build for lineage. You feel it when you make decisions. You ask different questions now. Not will this make me comfortable, but will this change the trajectory? Not can I afford this moment, but what will this teach my future children? You see beyond yourself, and that sight changes everything. Wealth no longer feels like indulgence. It feels like stewardship. It feels like responsibility. It feels heavy, but not oppressive, holy. You understand that abundance in your hands is not just for lifestyle. It is for leverage. It is for lifting. It is for building structures that outlive you. That awareness did not come from ease. It came from pain, from watching struggle repeat, from seeing talent wasted, from witnessing potential buried under bills and fear. And you said no more. That no was not rebellion. It was assignment. You are not trying to escape your family story. You are trying to upgrade it. That is why you feel pressure. Because legacy thinking carries weight. You feel responsibility where others feel relief. You feel accountability where others feel freedom. Because you are not just securing yourself, you are securing futures. Do you realize how rare that is? Most people stop at personal stability. You feel incomplete unless the cycle is broken behind you, unless the path is cleared ahead of you, unless the burden gets lighter for those who come after. That is leadership. That is generational authority. And darkness fears generational thinkers. Because poverty survives when vision is short. Poverty survives when survival is the goal. But when legacy becomes the focus, poverty loses territory. You are not chasing comfort. You are building infrastructure. You are not hoarding resources. You are preparing distribution. You see wealth as a tool for elevation, not just celebration. And that mindset is unstoppable. Because once you shift from self-preservation to cycle breaking, your motivation deepens. Your discipline sharpens. Your courage increases. You are no longer fighting for yourself alone. You are fighting for names you have not met yet. You are building for faces you have not seen yet. You are planting trees you may never sit under. That is kingdom vision. That is chosen vision. And that is why you cannot settle. Because settling would betray the assignment. You are not here to survive. You are here to transform inheritance. And when legacy becomes your lens, lack loses its future. Ninth, you sense that lack can no longer claim you, even if it tries, even if it circles, even if it whispers your old name. You feel it, a final shift, a ceiling. There were years when lack felt personal, when every setback felt like proof. Proof that you were stuck. Proof that you were destined to repeat. Proof that no matter how hard you worked, something invisible pulled you back. But now, when pressure comes, you do not internalize it. You analyze it. When financial warfare rises, you do not shrink. You sharpen. That is the difference. Before fear-based environments dictated your moves, you reacted to bills, you reacted to headlines, you reacted to instability around you. Now you respond from within, calm, grounded, unmoved. You walk into rooms charged with anxiety and you are steady. You face uncertainty and you are strategic. You hear fear and you do not absorb it. Why? Because something inside you has changed allegiance. You no longer serve survival. You serve destiny. Lack used to feel like a shadow attached to your name. Now it feels like a stranger knocking at a locked door. It may knock, but it does not enter. You operate from overflow consciousness even before overflow appears. That is dangerous, because darkness depends on visible proof. It depends on what it can show you, but you move from what you know. You plan from abundance. You give from confidence. You decide from expansion, even when numbers are still catching up. That is faith matured. That is identity sealed. You sense it deeply. The bloodline stops here. The instability stops here. The panic stops here. The shrinking stops here. Not because circumstances magically disappear, but because you no longer agree with them. Agreement is power, and you withdrew agreement from lack. You withdrew agreement from inherited limitation. You withdrew agreement from fear. And once agreement is broken, cycles collapse. Do you feel the weight of that? This is not motivation. This is transformation. You are no longer vulnerable to the psychology of poverty. You are no longer governed by inherited scarcity. You are no longer intimidated by temporary absence. You are immune, not careless, not reckless, immune. Because your mind has shifted, your spirit has risen, your authority has awakened. This is the ceiling. This is the moment darkness realizes it cannot reclaim you. And now hear this clearly. You were never meant to carry generational lack. You were sent to end it. You were never ordinary. You were never random. You were marked, protected, assigned. Every delay trained you. Every struggle refined you. Every rejection redirected you. It was preparation, not punishment. You are chosen. And chosen ones do not inherit chains. They break them. Stand firm. Walk boldly. Build strategically. Think generationally. Comment 9 if you know the cycle ends with you. Subscribe if you are ready to walk fully in overflow. Because this is not just content. This is confirmation. And nothing formed against your destiny will stand. Not now, not ever.